Yo, 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 what is up, you guys? Welcome to the Hangout. I'm your host, BJ Kicks. I buy comics, I read them, and I review them, all for your viewing pleasure. If you're new here, welcome, and if not, welcome back. And like I said, this is the Hangout. This is my weekly live stream. We do this every Thursday evening at around 7 p.m. Sometimes we go an hour, sometimes we go like an hour and a half, but we have some fun. So I've got a few fun things planned for the evening. And of course, we're going to have a discussion about event fatigue because, man, I'm fatigued. So, anyway, if you're watching this on the replay, thank you. Hopefully, you can join us one Thursday live at 7 p.m. Eastern. And if you are here live in the chat, go ahead and say what's up. Looks like Jay was here early, like 8 a.m. And he answered the question in the title, like, are there too many comic book events? He says yes, and I'm surprised readers have not had enough. I'm not buying it. Word, word. So yeah, if you are here in the chat live, go ahead and let me know like what you're reading this week. Have you picked up your books? What's been your favorite that you've read so far? That's what I want to know. But yeah, looks like my man Kev is here. What's up, Kevin? And Carson's here as well. And while you guys are telling me what you're excited about this week, obviously somebody's gonna go like just tripping with a dirt bike or something. But anyway, got to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of the channel for making the hangout possible, and that is Organic Price Books. You can save $2 on every order at Organic Price Books using my discount code BJKicks at checkout. And if you're placing order of 3 or more books, you can use the code BJKICK, ship it together. They're the best place to go for collected editions, trade paperbacks, oversized hardcovers, standard size hardcovers, both in stock currently. You can place pre-orders or even things that are on back order with the distributor. You can get it all there. So you can use my discount code, save yourself some money, and support the channel at the same time. Thanks, OPB, for sponsoring the video. And man, let's see. Wait, what is happening? I guess are we talking about events? Card says, hello, Kicks. I've been too busy to shop. I feel you. I actually went to the shop on my lunch break. Not my, well, yes, my lunch break, but I picked up my oldest daughter from carpool and went by the shop and was in and out in like 5 minutes, which is a record for me. And somehow still managed to double my pull list budget. So there's that. Woganado says Exterminators was fantastic. Leah Williams smashed that. Can't wait to read the rest. It's X-23, Jubilee, Dazzler, and Boom Boom hunting vampires. Everyone should buy it. That sounds so random. Hunting vampires. Okay, I'll check it out. I'll grab the first issue because I'll grab the first issue of just about anything. Just about anything. Let's see. Kev says he hit the shop yesterday, hasn't read anything yet. Word, word. Speaking of hitting the shop, I want to go ahead and jump into the first segment because we're not going to be here crazy long. I think I got to cap it about an hour. So let's take a look at some recent pickups. You guys, I think Ilika already shouted out these bread ones here in the back. Those are going to be reviewed tomorrow on my sneaker channel. These are a replica. They're not authentic, but they look cool. And that's what matters to me. I mean, I only go to the grocery store, church, and the comic shop. And there's no one at any of those places that care about my shoes. And there's like nobody in this stream that cares about my shoes either. So yeah, there's that. But let's talk about some recent pickups because I got a few. And interestingly enough, a lot of them are Milestone. So first up, this just came in the mail last night. This is Terror Titans issues 1 through 6. If I remember correctly, Terror Titans was like a tie-in series to Infinite Crisis, and it kind of tied into, or it took the place of Teen Titans. And this series contains Static's first appearance in the DCU proper. I already had it in trade paperback, but I saw an eBay auction and it was a pretty good price. I think I paid $10 for this plus $5 shipping for all 6 issues. And I was like, sure, let's make that a part of the collection. So There it is. And then another fun eBay steal, in my opinion. I even kept the receipt on here because I didn't think y'all would believe the price. But I won this auction for a price of, let me cover up my address. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to put it on the camera. $1.75 is what I won this book on for on eBay. But this is the Milestone Returns Zero issue, the Infinite Edition. Actually, this doesn't say Infinite Edition, but I'm pretty sure it's the Infinite Edition. But anyway, Milestone Returns Zero Special Edition. This was a limited book you could only get at San Diego Comic-Con if you attended the Jim Lee and Friends panel, where I believe Dennis Cowan spoke about Milestone there. But anyway, this is a special wraparound cover. You might recognize the cover as it was been a promo image forever, but they also used it as the cover, the variant cover for the Milestones in History special. Now, I'm glad I only paid $1.75 because I see a major flaw on this cover. Like there's like a dog ear, and that was not pictured on the auction. The whole book looks like it's dog-eared, actually. So anyway, this is the cover. I got 2 copies. One I paid $1.75 for, and the other I paid like $15 for. I'm gonna get them both pressed, and I'm probably gonna send one of them to get graded because it's just something cool that a lot of people don't have. But I was able to find it. Tim's here says, "Hey yo, what's up, BJ Kicks? What's up? What's up?" He said, "I paid too much for that Milestone comic." Yeah, probably. Bunkmaster Beast here says, "What's up, K Squad? Watching Power Rangers with the kids, trying to get hyped for next week's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issue 100. I might blind buy that issue. The only thing that would keep me away from blind buying that issue is I believe it's $10, right? Percy's Wolverine introduced the vampires coming back into power and trying to use his blood to become daywalkers. Yeah, I knew the vampires were a big thing in like the first story arc of Wolverine. I just didn't know they were still a thing. But I'm down for it. I'm down for it. I'm kind of like, I don't know. There are so many X-Men books and they're all good. And we'll talk about them in a second because I'm going to do some recent reviews, but they're all good and they do kind of tie into each other, but it's just like, does there need to be this many books? And I think for someone like me who wants to be a completist, it's like, okay, you just got to stop at some point. But I think for most people, it's just pick the book that's got your favorite characters in it and support that. And so if you're a fan of X-23, to be fair, you're not getting X-23 in any other book, really, because she just left the X-Men proper. So, yeah. And the last item up on recent pickups is this. From our channel sponsor, Organic Price Books. You already know I had this on pre-order. If you didn't know, you should have known. But this is the Batman No Man's Land Omnibus Volume 2. This is a beautiful cover by Bill Sienkiewicz, and it's the only cover available. There's no direct market variant, but I love this image. So this collects the rest of No Man's Land. So this will go next to your Road to No Man's Land and No Man's Land Volume 1. So this event, No Man's Land, pretty much covers every Batman title for like 3 years of publishing or something crazy. So yeah, it'll take me at least a year to read it. So there we go. Blue says that's generous. Not all the X-Men stories are good. Yeah, well, good is subjective, but but I'll say like there hasn't been one. Well, to be fair, I haven't read all of them. But of the books that I'm reading, there hasn't been one that just feels like a dumpster fire. Like, all right, I'm sick of this. There's definitely been disappointing aspects in each one. Like for me, Wolverine and X-Force are just kind of like right now. But like it's weird because I binge read, I get like the full story arc at a time, and I'm never like super mad at the result. but from issue to issue, it definitely reads weaker, in my opinion. Katie Kaboom says, am I the only collector that still needs to organize her comic collection? No, you're not. In fact, I don't know if I can get it on camera. I won't move the camera around. But I just co-opted this 3-tier cart. And my idea was, all right, Marvel, DC, Indie, 2 read piles on this little wheeled cart. I have too many books to read. So it's just, yeah, I got to get organized as well. I got a bunch of stuff that I've read and haven't put away, sitting right up under my desk. I got a bunch of stuff that I haven't read and need to read in a series of short boxes. And then the short boxes where I'm supposed to have everything organized and put away, when I go to put things away, I will find there's like stacks of books that just never got sorted. And I just kind of threw them in a box so they wouldn't be on the floor. So I got to take like a week. I got to take at least like 2 days off work and like really deep clean and organize my office and comic collection. So yeah. Let's see. Katie Kaboom went to the comic shop yesterday. Hasn't been for about a month. Huge stack of books. Wait, listen, I can't wait a month to go to the comic shop because then I'll be like spending hundreds. And even though it's like a culmination of a few weeks, it still just feels wrong. Not at all. Looks like a scene from Spawn in my room. Kicks. Word. I do a good job of cleaning the background, but everything you don't see on camera is crazy. I'm lucky that the reflection isn't in the TV too bad this week. But yeah. So unfortunately, $10. Speaking of Power Rangers 100, the Montez foil helmet variant is $12. Because I'm dumb, I'm getting multiple covers, including that foil. You're not dumb, man. You love what you love, right? I think it's way better to love Power Rangers than to love Batman, right? So also on the recent pickups note. So I went to the shop yesterday. And where did I put this stuff? The short version, though, I took a picture and I put it in the Discord. And on Facebook, actually. But I bought every book that I said I was going to buy. I also bought a couple that I said I wasn't sure if I was going to buy. And then I bought books that just weren't on my radar at all. Like this. This is Harley Quinn, the 30th anniversary special. It's the Art Germ cover. And you know why I bought it? Because there were only 2 in the store, and I really liked it. I love that the way it homages Harley Quinn's first appearance. But also, it was definitely some FOMO. Didn't realize until I like checked out that this was a $10 book. And then this one, One Bad Day, Two-Face. This was on the maybe list, but it was a $7 book. And so it sent me over the budget. But yeah, between this being $10, this being $7, and there were a couple of other books that were like more expensive than I remembered, or I didn't account for like the extra dollar because this was a variant. And yeah, I ended up spending like $80 yesterday when I planned to spend $50 at most. So yeah, that's how my day went. Woke NATO says my LCS did everyone dirty enough on pull list books not getting fulfilled. eBay flipped by the store and then trying to charge $300 for JLA Avengers. I just don't go anymore. Oh man. One Bad Day Riddler was really good. I need to read Two-Face now. Word. I haven't read the Riddler. I bought the Riddler twice. No, I didn't. I only bought it once. I really liked the Jim Lee cover, but I liked the cover A better. So yeah. I already have the Bruce Timm variant waiting for me at my LCS. I saw that. It's hard for me to look at like some of Bruce Timm's sketches, like because he did like that weird book where like everybody was like naked, and I was like, okay, it's just, what are you thinking about this art when you're making it? But I mean, anyway, the Bruce Timm cover is pretty good. Actually, I went without getting that one because it was a lot of negative space. It was a little Harley and a bunch of white space. I thought this was just a better cover composition and execution, even though Bruce Timm created Harley, co-created Harley. But yeah, why are you always streaming when I'm doing biology? Why are you always doing biology while I'm streaming? Any advice? Study hard. That's all I got for you. Card is making these faces, and I'm not sure why. So yeah, those were the recent pickups. Now I want to go to another segment, and we're gonna get to the review of the week. And when I say review, I actually mean reviews plural, because I read a couple of books. What's up, Tyler? How's it going? But yeah, so my review of the week for this week is Nightwing. The only book I've read from this week's stack so far is this Nightwing issue 96. And I told you guys that I thought maybe they would stretch out this like Heartless stuff and the blockbuster stuff that they've been working with for the last year. I thought they might stretch that out over the next 4 issues until we got to 100. And that didn't happen. This was a very satisfying conclusion to a lot of the plot lines that have been, hanging over the last, like I said, year or so. And I think maybe it hit harder for me because I just read a bunch of other Nightwing issues this week. I read this weekend. I told you guys on the What I'm Getting episode, but I read like 8 Nightwing issues to get caught up. Without spoiling anything, something super, super major happened at the end of issue 95. And we pick up on that in issue 96 while getting, like I said, a satisfying conclusion to the blockbuster and Heartless threads. Overall, somebody just asked what I'm thinking about the story of Nightwing. If someone reads for good stories, is it worth picking up? Yes. So from Nightwing 78 on, it's been amazing. And that's when Tom Taylor started writing the title. For those who aren't familiar, during the Rebirth era of Batman stories, Nightwing like basically lost his memories somehow. I'll let you guys read to figure out how. But he lost his memories and forgot who he was. He stopped going by Dick Grayson and started going by Rick Grayson. He left the Bat family and was just like a cloudy, like nonsense of a mess, right? Like he missed a bunch of key moments in the Bat family. It was just weird. And we were just like, yo, why is this Rick Grayson thing going on? They finally brought him back to being Dick during the Joker War. I'll let you find out how by reading the Joker War. And 3 issues later, Tom Taylor jumped on the Nightwing title. And it's been great ever since. I think overall, I'd probably give it like, it's definitely A, maybe A minus for me. And it really is just how long it takes to resolve a lot of the threads that were open in the first 4 issues. The run started with 78. We're at issue 95 now. Or 96 now. And we're just starting to get some of those story arcs concluded. But along the way, you get a lot of fun, like sort of side stories. If I had to sum up what this run is, including issue 96, it's a great study as to what makes Dick Grayson different than Bruce Wayne in a lot of key areas. And I can't really give more detail than that without spoiling this issue. But there's a very key distinction made between Bruce and Dick. And what I would say is that, like, this book is like, what if Batman was happy? That's this whole run. And really, that's kind of who Nightwing is as a character. What if Bruce Wayne was happy? And it's been dope. It's been dope. Afro Sci-Fi says, great stream. Gonna have to watch playback. It's 12 a.m. in the UK. Work tomorrow. Thanks for joining, man. Thank you. And I'll see you on the replay. Woke NATO says, Taylor does a good job of not making a villain overstay their welcome. Both Nightwing and Son of Kal-El feel tight while still doing big things with character development. Yeah, what I will say is, to that point, yes. While you don't get like an update with the villain every issue really does highlight a different aspect of the character to kind of make you fall deeper in love. And reading so much Nightwing back to back made me want to go back and catch up on Son of Kal-El. I haven't done so yet, but it did make me want to do that to hopefully get kind of similar vibes with John Kent. But I think, you know how, if you guys saw my review of Green Lantern Rebirth, I was talking about how Green Lantern Rebirth by Jeff Johns and Ethan Van Sciver, um, anyway, by Jeff Johns, it does if nothing else, it shows you why everyone in the DC universe regards Hal Jordan as the greatest Green Lantern, whether you agree or not. Well, this book is doing a good job of kind of showing you why like everyone in the DC universe like loves Nightwing, and why he's such a pillar of not only the Bat family but the DC universe as a whole. And I think as we get closer to the conclusion of Dark Crisis and this tease of like Nightwing as Jesus, as somebody put last week, this story becomes more and more integral to that. And I'm excited to see where it goes. So my review of the week, Nightwing 96. If you haven't been reading Nightwing, I don't suggest buying this issue because it's going to spoil a bunch. But grab the hardcovers. I think we're up to 3 volumes of Nightwing hardcovers. Someone says, you think we'll get an OHC? I hope so. I really hope so. I never hold my breath when it comes to DC collected editions, because we got stuff solicited, I guess, far out as like April of next year, and there's no Nightwing OHC in any of those solicits as of yet. I feel like DC usually waits until the run's over. Like they'll do an omnibus, but everything else is going to be standard until then. Kev says, I slept on Nightwing, gonna have to do a trade paperback. Yo, do it however you can do it, dog. I read a lot of Nightwing digitally, and then once it, got to issue 92, I switched over to the single issues, and that's how I got caught up. So yeah, DC Universe Infinite is your best friend for $7.99 a month, if I'm not mistaken. DC seems to be moving back to their model of hardcover, trade paperback, omnibus, like they did in the New 52. Yeah, that does seem to be how it's going. But like the hardcover and the trade paperback come out like almost a year apart from each other, which is really annoying. But it is what it is. Is what it is. So that was one review of the week. And the rest of the time I've spent this week, like literally at like 2 and 3 in the morning on my iPad trying to get caught up with Avengers, X-Men, Eternals, the Judgment Day event. And I'm pretty close to caught up. I read the 2 X-Force tie-ins, including the one from last week. And I'm at Judgment Day number 3. I need to read Judgment Day number 4. And then Judgment Day number 5 just came out this week. I think there's a Marauders tie-in that I'm probably not going to read. But anyway, Avengers, X-Men, Eternals, Judgment Day. What I'll say about it is it's good. I don't know a ton about the Eternals, and so it takes me a little bit longer to read it because I'm trying to figure out who's this guy, what's he talking about, what's a Celestial, who are they calling God, like what is all this? And then it's also like trying to keep up with, okay, which book do I read when? If I was caught up on my pull list and reading these every week, I don't think it would be as difficult. But yeah, the standouts by far to me have been the actual Judgment Day issues, X-Men Red, and Immortal X-Men. Everything else feels like take it or leave it, right? Like the X-Force stuff is cool, but I'm kind of tired of Deadpool and Krakoa. There's a major plot line open right now, so in X-Force, so I'm sure we'll get that resolution soon enough. And yeah, trying to get caught up on Judgment Day is what brought on tonight's topic. And I guess we can go ahead and talk about it. And that is Are there too many events? Because man, I feel like there's too many events. If you guys saw the thumbnail for this week's episode of the Hangout, all of those books that were in the thumbnail were books that are tied to an event of some sort, and almost every book in that stack was from this week, right? So right now we've got the Avengers X-Men Eternals Judgment Day event. We've got Dark Crisis. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are in the Armageddon game. All of that's happening. We're coming up on Dark Web, which will involve Spider-Man and the X-Men somehow. And then Superman is about to have a big crossover with Son of Kal-El, which makes sense. So it's Action Comics and Son of Kal-El that are having the crossover. Dark Crisis is still happening. This is my stack of Dark Crisis books. And then here's the crazy part. You got to like read the events to read the events. Like, this is my Dark Crisis reading stack. So I have Marv Wolfman and George Perez's History of the DC Universe, because I am not reading Crisis on Infinite Earths. It was a little bit too wordy for me. I couldn't read it quickly, so I was trying to get something condensed. I have this, so I'm going to have to read this before I can even start on Dark Crisis. But from there, you've got Justice League 75, where the Justice League died. You got The Road to Dark Crisis. This is a one-shot that, to be fair, is like an issue or a segment of an issue of Flash, and then like the beginning of Dark Crisis #1. Dark Crisis 1 through 4. Then you got Flash tie-ins, 783, 84, 785. And then this week, I got a variant for 786. I didn't buy the A cover. I saved some money by only buying the variant. But I got to read all that. Then after that, there's this other tie-in series. So this is Dark Crisis Young Justice 1, 2, 3. These are all variants, by the way. And then I bought a standard size or standard cover, or cover A, for issue 4 because I like that cover. So you got all that. And then tie-in one-shots. Worlds Without a Superman, Worlds Without a Green Lantern, Worlds Without a Wonder Woman. And there's still, 3 issues of Dark Crisis left. And there's a few more of these one-shots. I think there's one for Batman, and I don't know. There's at least 2 more coming, if I'm not mistaken. All of that just so that I can understand where the DC Universe is going starting in January. And then I didn't even mention that to really understand where all of this is going, you should have read Infinite Frontier 1 through 5 by Joshua Williamson and Justice League Incarnate 1 through 5 by Joshua Williamson. Not to mention, there are other events still going on. We just got out of the Shadow War that was crossing over all the Batman books, Batman, Robin, Deathstroke. And then we got Batman versus Robin, which is crossing over, or which is spinning out of the Shadow War crossover and out of the Batman Superman World's Finest book. All of these books tie in with each other. It's not just that there's a shared universe. There are direct references to each book in each other book. And it's kind of crazy. Like, sheesh, it's insane. Comic Coin Gallery says there are definitely too many comic events. Interestingly enough, comic prices are brutally dropping now as a buyer's market. If I go to events, I typically come out with steals. Oh, so we're talking about like event titles, like basically tie-in books and like publishing events, not necessarily like conventions. But That's a good point. There are a lot of comic conventions and like physical events, and I'm totally fine with there being a buyer's market there. Quick question. Someone said, what are your thoughts on the standard hardcover having matte paper? I mean, that's not a fight that I can fight. I would prefer glossy paper, but we're getting matte paper in like a lot of stuff. So it is what it is. I feel like art pops better on glossy paper, but it doesn't look the worst on matte. So Wokenado says for Eternals, all you need to do is grab the 2 trades from Gillen's run. Everything essential is in there. So that's at least 12 issues I need to read before reading the 3 books a week that they keep putting out between the X-Men and all that. This week, I finally drew a line because I bought a bunch of extra stuff. But I was like, you know what? If I'm not already subscribed to the series, I'm not going to buy the Judgment Day tie-in. So I didn't buy the Judgment Day Avengers book or the Fantastic Four number 47 this week. So if something crucial happens in either of those, oh well, I won't know until they collect it. Let's see. Comic Book Therapy says, have your events, but keep the crossover element out of them. They interrupt good storylines. I agree. So, like, I was really loving the Krakoa era of X-Men, right? Everything after Hoxpox. Then they did Ten of Swords, which crossed over every X-Men book, and then eventually, or it really would just ended up not being all that great to me. But Ten of Swords, because they were putting out 3 tie-in books every week, I very quickly fell behind on my pull list. And I didn't get caught up on my pull list and on the X-Men stuff until January, where, interestingly enough, we started out this year with 3 major events pushing out publishing weekly. Mariko Tamaki did the Shadows of the Bat storyline in Detective Comics. Amazing Spider-Man was weekly with the Beyond storyline. And then Wolverine did the 10 lives and X deaths, or X lives and 10 deaths of Wolverine. And that was weekly for 10 weeks. And those 3 things right there completely jacked up like my reading pile. And I still have not fully recovered. Even Spider-Man that I read, Spider-Man issue 9, I just read it last night. It was a good issue, but that issue was a direct follow-up to the Hellfire Gala, which was kind of continuing a story thread that started in 10 Lives, 10 Deaths of Wolverine, but it didn't really start there because that was continuing a thread from Inferno, which didn't really start there because Inferno was just wrapping a bunch of loose threads out from House of X, Powers of 10, literally from 3 years ago. And it's like you had to have read all of that to get as much enjoyment as possible or understanding as possible out of last week's Spider-Man issue. Not last week's X-Men issue, last week's Spider-Man issue. And it's like when I think about all of that and how convoluted things are, I'm like, there's no wonder like comics are a quote unquote dying industry. I don't think the industry is dying, but it's very difficult for new readers to get in. And I get suckered into stuff like every other month thinking, oh, this should be a good jumping in point. I should be able to learn more about this character. Oh, here's Devil's Reign for Daredevil. Right? Like, it's just, it is crazy. It's crazy. So I'm fatigued of these events. Like, every time I get caught up on my pull list, they put out 1 million books in 3 weeks. And then I'm right back to being behind again. And then I got a choice. I could read all these and take them out of their individual bags and boards and all that. Or I could just buy the hardcover when it eventually comes out. The other event that I didn't mention that was going on at the same time as, what was it? Ten of Swords, X of Swords, was Death Metal. DC's Dark Knight's Death Metal by Scott Snyder. I did a video about how there were a million tie-ins for Death Metal. There are so many tie-ins for Death Metal that just Death Metal, its tie-ins, and my Future State books are one short box in my collection. That's 100 and something books. It was crazy. And I only got into Death Metal because I thought, oh, this will be a good time to figure out what's going on with the DC universe because they're going to reset because this is basically a crisis, right? No. That set up Infinite Frontier, which set up Justice League Incarnate, which set up the death of the Justice League, which set up Dark Crisis, which became Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths. And now all of a sudden, I had to read Crisis on Infinite Earths in order to read Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths. And it's just like, comics feels like homework. Even when it's enjoyable, it feels like homework. And that's difficult. Wognado says, don't forget about War of the Bounty Hunters in the Star Wars line. Oh, yeah. I'm not reading any Star Wars books, but yeah, that's a thing too. That's a thing too. Where's the sentiment of the industry dying or on a downward slope? I just got back in 2020. Sure, I might be oblivious to anything going on. To be fair, it's I think, very small minority. But there's a gnat in this room. Anyway, it's a very small but very vocal contingent of the comic book fandom, I'll put in quotes, that is constantly screaming that the industry is dying, and they will find the craziest of stats to prove that the industry is dying. Like, I was watching one guy's video, and he was talking about sales numbers. He was using the sales numbers. It wasn't even sales numbers. It was comic book rankings in one point of sale system, Comic Hub, and using the rankings, like which book sold in the top 20, 25, 30, to say, oh, well, that book must suck. While admitting that at best, the point of sale system he referenced represented 5% of the total comic shops in the market. So anyway, I don't think the industry is dying. There are people who want to claim the industry is dying because they don't like the books that are being published. They don't like the politics of the writers, and they don't like the way those writers' politics makes their way into the books. But I don't think the industry's dying. And I don't think they think the industry's dying. I think it is like saying it because it gets people all up in arms and they make more money and get more clicks on YouTube. But yeah, the only things worse than the way things are now are the way things were and the way things are going to be. Were. Tayshaw said, stat nerds ruining comics with analytics like basketball. Yo, listen. Did you know tonight LeBron became the oldest person to dribble a basketball while wearing sneakers that were tied in a double knot? And that is a feat never achieved by anyone else at the age of 38. Kyle says, yo, what's up, Kyle? What's up, man? Clickbait Twitter grifters really out there going full Chicken Little every other day. Comics had its biggest year in decades. Last year, every major outlet covered it. Comics are fine. Yeah, I think the argument is semantics, because it is true that comics are making more money than they've made in quite some time. But there's arguments to be made that a lot of that is collected editions and that manga is a part of that same conversation, because technically it's not just American or Western comic books, it's graphic novels in general. And then also there's not, like, where are you proving this data, right? I guess you could prove it at Barnes & Noble, but how much comics are sold at Barnes & Noble versus other places? I don't know. I don't particularly care for stats on the comic industry. The way I feel is there are books coming out every month. Some I love less, and some I don't love enough to buy. So as long as there are still books coming out every month, I'm still going to the comic shop every month, and I'm enjoying what I enjoy. But tonight we're talking about event fatigue because I don't enjoy event fatigue. And I'm like, what is someone to do who doesn't like all these events, but yet enjoys superhero comics? Because the refrain that I hear most often when we talk about stuff like this, and I wish my man Skip was here in the chat because he'd be the one yelling this the loudest. That's why I read indies, right? That's why I just read indie books. I'm reading Ed Brubaker, or I'm reading Radiant Black, or I'm reading blah, 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 right? And that's cool. I hear that. But I'm going to be real with you. I didn't grow up with Radiant Black on TV every week. I didn't have a set of, I don't know, insert, I don't know. I don't read enough indies to even make this argument. But I'm just saying, like, I didn't have like Radiant Black wasn't on TV every day when I was in daycare. It was Batman. I had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles underwear. I didn't have Radiant Black anything because Radiant Black didn't exist. And to be fair, while yes, the indies are doing great work, what is an indie title that's been ongoing for anything more than 3 years not named Spawn? And I don't even know if Saga counts because it took a 3-year break. And also Saga's quite adult, and I don't really read like adult or mature themed comics like that. I think there are stories out there for everyone, but for someone who prefers superhero stories, it's a particularly daunting task to keep up with comics in 2022. There's really not much recourse except, right, saying, all right, well, you know what? I'm not going to buy weekly books. I'm not going to try to keep up with things monthly. I'm going to go the collected editions route, or I'm going to just buy classic stories and reread those because there's enough stuff in history to read that and not worry about what's happening today until it has already happened. And then it's the past and I can catch up on it later. Yeah, but I just want to know what you guys thought about that. It's supposed to be more of a discussion than a rant. But yeah. The Woganado says Kicks being all rational on the stream. I try to be rational in life. I try. Let's see. Oh, all that said, Judgment Day is pretty good. This issue was cool. X-Men 14. Did Cyclops get judged in this issue? I read this last night. I'm trying to think of, was it this book or a different tie-in? Oh yeah, he did get judged in this issue. I won't spoil it. But, okay, so examples. This Judgment Day tie-in. 89% of this book was not relevant to the Judgment Day storyline. It was like the last 4 pages that tied into Judgment Day. It tied in well. It was good. But this was really just a Bobby Drake story. And the story was really just about, you know, Iceman is gay and the world needs to accept that Iceman is gay. And that's totally fine. But it's like, if I was reading this because I thought it was super relevant or super, what's the word? Instrumental in my understanding of Judgment Day, that's not really what I got out of it. It was a really good issue, though. I enjoyed it. The art is good. I think they used Iceman effectively. And I think it was a dope, like, I think this was like a dope sort of gotcha to people who, you know, have an issue with like gay people being in comics. Because it's very meta. Like there's a news story about Iceman, and the editor of the newspaper is like saying to the reporter, like, yo, like, why we have to talk about him being gay? He saved the world, and that's the story. And dang, I just kind of spoiled the whole issue. Well, you can see how the event unfolds, and it basically ends with the reporter saying, like, nah, like, let's not erase that part about him. Like, it should be there. And so that was the issue. But the stuff with Judgment Day, it was like 2 pages at the end of the book. And so it's like you read all this stuff and it's like you can enjoy the ride, but it's like ugh, did I need all of that though? Like, was this worth feeling like I was behind on a research paper and I was going to fail a class? I wouldn't say it was worth that feeling, but it was good though. It was good. Let's see. All right, there's somebody in the chat. Can I block them? All right, they're blocked. Tayshawn says, I'm partial to Batman because that's what I grew up on, but as an adult, I lean toward the Bat books by more indie writers and artists. Word. I love Batman Ego by Darwin Cook. Anthony says, creator-owned stuff has been so fun, though. Things like Nocterra and Firepower. Walking Dead Deluxe is fire, too. Yes, I got caught up on Firepower last weekend, and I agree. It is really good. I enjoy it. I want to enjoy Batman, too. I just don't want to have to read every other DC book in order to do that. But yeah, Firepower is awesome. Like, if you're not reading it, pick it up. Pick it up. Been in collected editions, guys, since I came back from a break and buying comics. I'm not too bothered about reading things that are current. Emphasis on reading things that are complete. I get that. And I think that's kind of where I am. Because it's really hard to stay current. But also, as long as you're staying current, like you said, it's incomplete. You might get the conclusion of a story arc, but then you're ending every week on a cliffhanger. Or every book that you read, you're sort of ending on a cliffhanger. Like, oh, what's going to happen next? And that in and of itself is a fun experience. But I also really enjoy reading a book with a distinct beginning, middle, and end. This was the theme. This is what I got out of this book. Okay, cool. That was dope. The Wognado says they should have a degree indicator of how essential a tie-in book is. Like, does it change the stakes, or is there a throwaway panel about the event? I feel you on that. And you know what's crazy? The 3 pages that were about Judgment Day in X-Men 14 were really important pages. Maybe not as important as I think. They were crucial to establishing an official stance on one character. And that character happened to be like the most important character on the X-Men team. But I didn't need the Iceman side quest to get that. They could have put those 3 pages in Judgment Day number 3, and I could have like saved 20 minutes of my life. Did it take me 20 minutes to read that book? That's probably over-exaggerating. But still. I put Chip Zdarsky's Batman on the pull list. Can't wait for next month. I am loving Chip Zdarsky's Batman. We're only 3 issues in. But I mean, we've got the Batman Azura and R back. We got a reference to Tower of Babel. We got a reference to Batman R.I.P. Like, this is great stuff. Now, that's another example of a book that like kind of has required reading, but it doesn't feel like super required. They kind of sum up what happens in all those events enough for you to enjoy what you're reading. And then if you want to go back and get the extra history and enjoy the classic stories, you can do that. I think that's a so-called tie-in done right. But yeah, I just wanted to see like what you guys do when it comes to all these events, because I've officially had it with them. What I've tried to do in the past is be like, all right, well, I'm only going to invest in one event. So if Dark Crisis is happening and Judgment Day is happening, I'm going to have to pick one. And the other one I'll catch up on in collected editions. But doing that, I ended up being unsatisfied when it was Death Metal versus X of Swords. Death Metal was like kind of a lackluster ending. X of Swords was also lackluster, but I didn't find out until way later, and I sacrificed my 2-read pile stacking up forever to find all that out. And while I don't think that'll be the case with this, because I am enjoying Judgment Day, I don't need this many Judgment Day issues. Like, the Judgment Day reading list, and we only got like 10 minutes left on this stream, but I'm going to pull it up. Oh, I'm in the middle of Death to the Mutants number 2. And after that, I got what? 4 more books left. Because, like, that's the other thing about these events. So I'm reading Judgment Day. And in this reading order, after Death to the Mutants number 2, which I just finished, Immortal X-Men number 6, which came out last week or this week, Marauders number 6, which came out last week, Wolverine 25. Wolverine 25 isn't out. Wolverine 25 isn't coming out until next month. But Judgment Day number 4. Judgment Day number 5 just came out. Which one is that? Where is it? My stack is over there. Hold on. Yeah. This is Judgment Day number 5. It came out yesterday. So Judgment Day number 5 is supposed to be read like mad far after Wolverine 25. But Wolverine 25 isn't out yet. X-Force 32. I don't think I've read that one yet. I read 30 and 31. But do you see how, like, the books aren't even coming out in the order they're recommending you read them? How's anyone supposed to stay caught up? Fix it. Fix it, Marvel. Tim Sheeran says, I'll stick to Milestone Comics. There's less events to worry about. Or so you think. Because apparently at New York Comic Con, they're announcing some pretty big Milestone news. And one of those things that has been, announced in the back of a book, but not formally announced, is the Icon versus Hardware event, which I'm willing to bet got turned into a line-wide event between the Blood Syndicate, Static, Hardware, and Icon, which I'm totally fine with a Milestone crossover event because I've read every Milestone book ever. But, like, they're not immune either. The good thing is they only have 4 books to cross over, whereas there's like a million freaking titles on the rest of the big 2. Generally, I don't even read events, but if it's something I want to check out, I avoid the tie-ins. Yeah, I feel like that's the way to go. So, like as much as I'm enjoying the Judgment Day event and I'm trying to read it in like the prescribed reading order, I think you can get just as much out of it if you just read Judgment Day issues 1 through 6. Like, you get the gist of the story. That's where the main story is going on. I mean, and when you're reading your regular X-Men issues, like X-Men number 14, yeah, there's a big moment in here that ties into Judgment Day. But the rest of it is a typical X-Men issue. A one-off with one character doing a really dope thing for the week. So maybe I'm the sucker for thinking the event is more than what it is. And I should just read what I want to read. Maybe that's the end of all this. Ricardo says, just getting into reading comics a couple weeks ago. Your videos have been helpful. Yo, thank you. I'm glad they've been helpful to you. As you can see, I don't have all the answers, but when I do find an answer, I do try to share it with you guys. Glitter and Duct Tape says, I stopped doing events in single issues. All the events got out of hand. I wait to read them now. I'm thinking that's what I'm going to do. I think when it's time for an event, I will get the event. I won't get the tie-ins. And I'll read just the event books. And if I enjoy the event, then when there is the eventual hardcover collection, like this one for 10 of Swords, then I'll buy this. And at my leisure, I'll read the other tie-ins. And okay, did this add to it? Did it take away? Now, this kind of isn't a fair comparison because this was like a literal event where every book that was in it was like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 14, whatever. But you get the point. You get the point. Like Death Metal. There's going to be a Death Metal omnibus, or no, a Dark Knight's Metal omnibus is coming out later this year. And when that comes out, that'll be the first time I've read any of the tie-ins. Right now, all I have is the trade paperback of Dark Knight's Metal. And maybe that's how it just needs to be. Illica says the only good event I remember reading was Secret Invasion Black Panther tie-in. Word. Hillbilly says event fatigue can be a tricky thing. Even if you normally want to read something in an event, sometimes just the idea of another event is a turnoff after so many. Look, I didn't feel that way going. Well, yes, I did. If y'all remember when X-Men Avengers Eternal started, I remember saying like, yo, I don't feel like I need an event right now. Like, I feel like the X-Men books are kind of just recovering from a bunch of events. Like, I'm fine with them just being what they are. And now here we are, waist deep in another event. And this event's not even over. They already announced the next event. And I'm like, okay, I'm the sucker because they're not going to like just do good books. It's just going to be tie-ins and events for the rest of history. Ad infinitum was the new word that Partworks taught me last week. You know, when they put out the trades, it'll be line by line unless it's an Omni or written by the series runner, like the giant size issues in Hickman's X-Men. That's true too. Or they'll skip the event issues in the ongoing trades. So you'll get Nightwing skipping the whole Fear State arc. And then you'll jump back in and you'll be like, what the heck happened? Well, honestly, Nightwing, I think, wove in and out of the events around it pretty well. Like, you don't have to read the events to read Nightwing. But it does happen, does take place. Ended up skipping X Judgment Day for that very reason, although now, based on what I'm hearing, that may have been a mistake. Yeah, that's the sad part. I wish I could tell you the Judgment Day sucks and it wasn't worth the time or the investment. But as I'm getting caught up, I'm like, dang, this is pretty good. It doesn't need to be this many issues, but it's pretty good. Kind of wish events just didn't have tie-ins. I feel you. But then that's the other side of it, right? When events don't have tie-ins, then we're like, oh, this event doesn't matter. That's the thing with Dark Crisis. Dark Crisis hasn't interrupted any other book besides The Flash. Everything else is just adding on top of. Batman's still going on. Superman's still on Warworld. John Kent is still flying around the world saving people with his boyfriend. And Nightwing is still in Bloodhaven, unaffected. Yet Dark Crisis is supposed to be this world-shattering event. It sucks. It sucks. The events don't matter. Yeah. It's a catch-22. Catch-22. So, the moral of this story today is I'm a comics fan. I love comics, and that's a shame. The last 20 years of events have conditioned us to think that we need all of it. They got us. They won. Exactly. We're the suckers. We love comics, and we let them do this to us every single week. We pay them to do this to us. We're in an abusive relationship. Stockholm Syndrome. It's great. Bryce says, meanwhile, I've been getting Dark Crisis. Guess I was due for a semi-poor judgment call at some point. All right, I got to wrap this up in like 2 minutes, but how is Dark Crisis? I have read exactly one issue of Dark Crisis. I keep saying I'm going to come back to it when I'm done with these other events, trying to catch up and get current. Is Dark Crisis good? Is it just a bunch of books? Is it confusing? Anthony says, next event, the death of events, infinite events. And the only reason I got so invested in Dark Crisis was because it's supposed to be like the crisis to end all crises and finally reset the DC universe for good. And I love the DC universe. The only reason I'm even a comics fan is because of how much I love the DC animated universe. So Hillbilly says it's okay, but it hurts itself by not interrupting any other book and then claiming to be universe shattering. Got you. So everything I'm speculating the event to be is what it apparently is. The new 52. Honestly, it's good. Williamson knows what he's doing with what he was setting up in his previous books. Yeah, see, I got to read the other 10 books that Williamson wrote before he started writing this one. To be fair, I could go without reading the Worlds Without a Justice League, those 3 tie-ins. Could probably go without reading the Young Justice tie-in series. I could probably just read Dark Crisis 1 through 7 and the 4 or 5 Flash tie-in books that we're getting in the middle of all of it. Marvel versus DC, Crisis of Infinite Gauntlets. Don't get me started on Marvel. I won't start on Marvel. Maybe we'll talk about Marvel next week. Yo, let me know in the comments of this post what you guys want to see me talk about next week, because I have not picked a topic for the hangout next week. I very much enjoy having these being topic focused, though. It's been really fun. So I don't remember what we talked about last week. 2 weeks ago, I think we talked about gatekeeping. And this week we're talking about event fatigue. I want to talk about something fun next week. Oh yeah, last week was my favorite artists currently. Maybe I'll do my favorite writers. I've been trying to save my favorite writers for like when I get caught up on all the books I'm reading. I thought I blocked this spam bot thing. But yeah, so let me know in the Discord or in the Facebook group what you want to talk about next week. We'll have a fun time. And that's going to do it for me. I got to get out of here and raise my children. But I'll see you guys in another one soon. Until then, hope you saw something you liked in this video. Peace, Christopher. Oh, Black Panther and Storm. We can talk about that next week. But if not, that's cool. You can always buy what you like. Just make sure you read what you buy and be nice to others, because kindness makes the world go round. Peace.